of us who live with memories of those events, for some never ended. But there is hope. As the chaplain was saying, it's from those broken hearts that the light comes in. So we want you to take a moment in reflection as you light these candles, and take a moment to hear the song which sings of the light of Rwanda, the light that Rwanda has become, but the light of hope. That although we were wounded, although we were cut down, we didn't vanish. So, please begin with the song. We would like you to rise as the speakers light the main candles, and we invite you to light your own candles along the way, and we will tell you when it's time to stop the song and have a moment of silence. Please rise.
Sincerely thank you for having accepted our invitation and having joined us on this solemn occasion of remembrance. Nous sommes très honorés de votre présence et nous comptons beaucoup sur votre amitié et votre solidarité en ces moments de commémoration. The delegation is in Rwanda for the commemoration, and some other initiatives are underway across Canada. This 30th commemoration marks a generational cycle. 30 years. It's a generational cycle since the genocide was put to an end by the Rwandan Patriotic Front. And it is time to call for a reflection on the transformational journey that Rwanda has gone through for the last 30 years. Building on legacy of strength, resilience, and unity that the new generation is called upon to sustain and carry forward and adapt to today's challenges and future aspirations. 30 years ago, the genocide against the Tutsi started with unprecedented intensity and brutality, and in just 100 days, over 1 million Rwandans, that was approximately 15% of the total population of Rwanda. Over 1 million people were killed by a desperate government that thought it was the best way of keeping power. This ceremony is an occasion to remember our loved ones who were killed for no other reason but because they were identified just as Tutsi. We must keep their memory alive. For this remembrance again, the theme remains the same. Remember, unite, and renew. Excellencies, distinguished guests, April 7 also marks the beginning of 100 days of mourning for victims of the genocide. Cette période de commémoration ravive des souvenirs douloureux chez les survivants de ce génocide, et je sais qu'ils sont en bon nombre ici avec nous et pensent énormément aux membres de leur famille qui ont été massacrés sauvagement. C'est une occasion privilégiée de leur offrir notre compassion, confort et solidarité. For survivors of the genocide, the loss is ever present. Survivors continue to suffer the effects of the genocide. Many continue to face mental health issues. And in this moment, we must offer our solidarity. Encore une fois, aux survivants, je veux dire que vous n'êtes pas seuls. Vous avez toute une nation avec vous. Et je veux profiter de cette occasion pour remercier les survivants qui acceptent de partager leurs histoires vécues à travers des livres qu'ils écrivent, des témoignages qu'ils partagent. Et en particulier, je remercie beaucoup aujourd'hui Chico Chirenga, qui nous est arrivé de Montréal et qui a accepté de partager avec nous son témoignage durant le génocide. Distinguished guests, on this occasion, as it is a moment of reflection, we must revisit two very important questions. Why was a genocide committed against the Tutsi and how it could happen? What is clear is that the genocide did not happen because of a plane crash. We all know that a genocide, we know very well that the genocide was a government project matured since decades. The root causes of the genocide go back during colonial times, when colonial masters decided to divide a well, united and stable people alongside ethnic groups that were otherwise social classes. The consecutive political regimes that took power after independence from early 60s to 1994 and led by Hutu extremists, instead of uniting Rwandans, institutionalized and exacerbated even more the divisions and started persecuting and killing innocent Tutsi, and many of them were made refugees in neighboring countries around Rwanda. When the Rwandan Patriotic Front started the war to liberate Rwanda from all those dark politics, that was in October 1990, instead of honestly finding a political solution to problems, Hutu extremist government began to mobilize the population for mass killing. They used public and private media, schools, political parties, even churches to spread hate and to incite violence and openly encouraged Hutu to kill Tutsi. They were portraying them as the major problem of the country, and some government newspapers took over the propaganda in order to exterminate the Tutsis. The most known, of course, is the famous radio-télévision de Mille Collines. Preparing genocide, Hutu extremists also formed Interahamwe militia and so-called civil self-defense organizations, which they used to recruit from young Hutus, training and arming them for the slaughter to come. They also enlisted churches, political parties, and even the civil society, the army, the police, the entire public administration participated massively. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we must always recall that genocide is a long-term plan. In Rwanda, as the world looked on the 7th of April 1994, the perpetrators of the genocide started implementing their plan to exterminate the Tutsi population. Then the UN Security Council decided to withdraw the small force that was present in Rwanda to oversee the implementation of the Arusha Peace Accord, and only General Dallaire decided on himself to stay with a very limited force, just to witness the killings. The people of Rwanda were abandoned. We were left to our killers. And nobody can say the world didn't know, because it was happening daylight. killings. The genocide against the Tutsi was as fast as it was brutal. Using machetes and other blunt instruments, militiamen organized by the genocidal government hunted and killed men, women, children alike. Massive killings lasted from the 7th of April to 4th of July, but I must say that more than 70% of those killed were killed between 7th and 30th of April. In July 1994, the RPF in Gutangiza stopped the genocide despite their limited resources and under the most difficult circumstances. The genocide had left many orphaned, widowed, or both. Some families had been completely exterminated. I had 2 sisters. They were married with children, and both of them and their entire families have been wiped out. That's personal testimony. After the killings, when the genocidal forces were defeated, they decided to move with millions of Rwandans to neighboring countries, mainly the then Zaire, the Democratic Republic of Congo today, and not far from our borders, in the Kivus. And by the way, those who want to better understand and help in the complex situation in the eastern of the Democratic Republic of Congo must absolutely revisit this period and subsequent developments. Rwanda was torn, its social fabric destroyed completely. Distinguished guests, Excellencies, the genocide against the Tutsi was a terribly and dark period of our history. Despite the challenging circumstances, Rwandans decided to live and are determined to live a better life, because that is what our people deserve. A new ideology emphasizing the value of human life, the restoration of national unity and reconciliation, gave us hope for a rebirth of Rwanda. In the years that followed, the government put forward positive values such as good political and social governance, governance based no anymore on ethnicity, inclusiveness, including women empowerment and promotion, pluralism and power sharing, permanent dialogue and consensus building, and homegrown solutions, including programs such as Gachacha courts were adopted to bring solutions to an unprecedented situation. Gachacha courts, those are semi-traditional courts, tried more than 2 million cases in Rwanda, contributing immensely to the healing process and the much-needed reconciliation. In comparison, the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, based in Arusha, Tanzania, in international effort to bring perpetrators to justice, has indicted just 93 individuals. Rwanda has since 1994 embarked on a journey of transformation. Survivors were offered state assistance, including education and other benefits. Life expectancy in Rwanda is today at 70 years, against 39 in 1995. And our GDP growth has remained above 7%, except during the COVID period. Your Excellencies, before I conclude, I wanted to let you know that we still have challenges as far as managing genocide consequences is concerned. Many perpetrators of the genocide remain at large and have taken refuge in countries around the world, even here in Canada. I want to take this opportunity to thank the Government of Canada for the efforts to apprehend perpetrators of genocide and bring some of them to justice. We will continue collaborating with Canada to make sure that justice prevails. We continue to call on the global community to bring to justice all those suspects. L'idéologie génocidaire, le discours de la haine, le révisionnisme, le déni, sont de plus en plus présents dans les médias, surtout les réseaux sociaux, et en particulier dans les milieux des extrémistes. Pour le moment, nous constatons que cette idéologie de la haine et génocidaire s'est propagée dans la région des Grands Lacs et en particulier en République démocratique du Congo. Nous observons chaque jour des massacres de population sur base du faciès. Des gens qui sont identifiés juste comme Tutsis. Et c'est là l'œuvre qui continue et qui avait commencé il y a 30 ans. Malheureusement, il nous semble que le monde n'a pas compris. C'est comme si on n'a pas tiré les leçons de ce qui s'est passé il y a 30 ans. We must also make more to educate younger generations by introducing in the curricula around the world lessons about the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, including here in Canada. We also need more symbols, including monuments, museums, commemoration spaces in Canada, especially here in the capital region. The genocide is a part of our shared human history, from which lessons must be learned to prevent other genocide from occurring. Excellencies, in conclusion, let me once again thank you. Thank you all for having decided to come to join us and attend this important ceremony. And let me say thank you again to survivors of the genocide for your resilience and bravery. You represent the triumph of Rwanda.
On April 6, 1994, I was a 9-year-old kid playing outside with my friends. What we thought where fireworks turned out to be the tragic downing of President Habyarimana's plane. Before, we'd often hear hurtful words like cockroaches, snakes, tall trees to be cut down. Aimed at my family and friends because we were Tutsi. But no one could ever imagine that it would lead to one of the most violent events in human history. The next day, the killings started, and gunshots echoed throughout the city of Kigali as Tutsi were hunted. On April 13th, we found shelter with neighbors. About 20 of us crammed into one house. Then tragedy struck. The Interahamwe militia, led by a military officer, found us, brought us to the main street, and lined us up. I remember that moment like it was yesterday, sitting on the ground, waiting for the soldier to load his gun. Despite the chaos, I wasn't afraid. I wasn't afraid because my dad was there. Always knowing what to say or using his irresistible charisma to negotiate our way out of danger. But in my naive 9-year-old mind, I didn't realize how mad our world had become, and that my life was about to change forever. A few minutes later, everyone had to be killed, except my 2 sisters and me, who survived our wounds. It was the last time I saw my parents, brothers, and beloved sister Anita. Just because we were Tutsi. Despite the odds, with the help of a few angels and heroes, we survived. Thanks to my older sister Janine's love and strength, from that day, at the age of 20, she did not hesitate to become the parent of 3 traumatized siblings. Now, 30 years later, I am here, a living example of hope triumphing over despair. I grew up struggling with mental health at times, and when I was young, I used to ask myself why I survived out of my brothers and sisters, or out of the thousands who died. Now, I mentioned heroes and angels. Let me go off script a little bit and talk to you about my heroes and angels. So, every survival story, in every survival story there's angels, there's heroes. Mine, first one was a lady called Marie. Marie saw us coming in the hospital of Kigali, me and my 2 sisters, wounded and lost. And from that moment, she started taking care of us, especially my sister who was in intensive care. She would give us 3 meals a day. Marie's still alive, and now she lives in Montreal with me. And she told me how those 3 meals, she had to go and steal it from soldiers, taking risk, or from doctors, but we would never know what she would go through to feed us. And at some point she realized that my sister who was in intensive care, there was 2 soldiers who was interested in her, and not for good reasons. And she started looking for a solution for us to get out of the hospital. And she found my second hero, Haj Sibomana, who was Hutu. And when he was told that we needed to get out of the hospital, especially because of my sister, he did not hesitate also to put us in his car, in his trunk, and he brought us to his home, where he had all his kids and family. So he put his family in danger for us. And to me, those Marie and Haj represent the remembering and unite of the theme of Kwibuka. Rwanda's journey from genocide to unity and forgiveness shows the world the power of the human spirit to overcome, even in the darkest of times. Now, in my 40s, yes, I'm that old, I know that I'm here to keep alive the memory of the people we lost and to be part of the Never Again movement. I like to tell my story especially to younger generations so they know what to never return to. The exceptional healing and unity of Rwanda and Rwandans in the aftermath of the genocide, it is a testament to the strength and resilience of the human spirit. Despite the immense pain and loss, survivors have shown remarkable strength in rebuilding their lives and communities. Rwanda has emerged as a beacon of hope, where forgiveness and reconciliation have paved the way for our brighter future. 3 cycles of 10 years have passed since Rwanda's darkest days, yet hope shines bright in the hearts of today's youth. As we commemorate 30 years since the genocide, I'm reminded of my journey, marked by a bullet wound scar on my hip. But it's also a symbol of endurance, a testament to our ability to overcome. I would like to take a few minutes to talk about Janine. Janine is not in the pictures that were there because she had left to live in the USA and then she ended up in the United States and she ended up living in Canada. And when she heard that we survived, because she thought that she was the only one left at some point, she did not hesitate to ask for us to come to be reunited with her so she can raise us, even if she was 20 years old. And I can tell you, like I said, now I'm 40, and I don't think I can ever be able to do that. So, I'm not sure if she made it in the room, but every time you hear me talking about my story, there's always a special moment for Janine. Because to me, Janine is the last word of the theme of the renew. There will be no renew for me without Janine. As I stand here, I can't help but to think about my other sisters' remarkable accomplishments, like building beautiful families of their own and starting careers. The sense of hope we felt a few months back when we reunited with my family in Rwanda for the first time since the tragedy of 1994, it is a feeling I'll never forget. And I felt some sort of closure. I actually went to the place where everything happened, and I can tell you that on the wall where, I'm trying to find the words to not shock you guys, but I could still see the traces of the bullets. You know, they're still there 30 years later. But it gave me more courage to see that. It gave me more courage to fight for the future, free from the shadows of hatred. Together, we build Rwanda and a world where unity triumphs over division. I would like to finish by saying the names of my siblings that I lost and my parents. So my dad was Musoni Laurent. My mom was Mururumwere Jeanne. My big sister was Anita Umuratwa. And my big brother was Ivan Kimeni. And my little brother, who was like a twin to me, was Kevin Kinani Bobo. Thank you all for your attention, for being a part of this important commemoration. Let us continue to stand together in the fight against genocide. May we never forget the lessons of the past. Thank you.
It's been introduced by Lady Charles de Breth, Major from the Canadian Armed Forces. And so is my wife, retired as well. She served for 20 years, I served for 21. We just both retired as a service member of the Canadian Forces. Years ago, when, I would like to say, while a genocide was being committed against Tutsis in Rwanda, it is an understatement to say that the Rwandans across the world were devastated, were heartbroken. There was a sense of despair, there was a sense of hopelessness. So the Rwandese communities here in Canada tried to come together to comfort one another. Some of them are on the phones trying to call if their families are still alive. Others have already had the information that their families have been killed. So we met in Toronto at the City Hall under the leadership of Celestine Kaitale. And then we met also at the City Hall here, if I remember correctly, in Ottawa, under the leadership of some those men and women have gone to Rwanda to help build the country. So the community was grieving. Actually, don't even know if it was grieving because they were actually still making a sense of the senseless. So, during this time in Toronto, I was invited to say the words of hope. Think about it. Then I was invited here in Ottawa to say the same thing. The people are actually in the state of despair. Their people are dying. So there's a sense of hopelessness. And so they're asking me to say the words of hope. Hope. Where do you begin? Where do you begin? Nevertheless, I had no choice, I have to say. So my theme in Toronto, here in Ottawa 30 years ago, in April this time like this, I said to the Rwandese community and the friends of Rwanda that there is hope in the midst of hopelessness. There is hope. Fear, despair, literally, you say comfort. Ladies and gentlemen, those are the words that I say. There's hope in the midst of hopelessness. So 30 years later, if you ask me today, where is that hope? Where is it? Where? That hope, ladies and gentlemen, is here. It's here. As you are here, you are the hope. You, as survivors, are the hope. You're the hope. It's like you were the people who were left to tell the story, their story, and your story. Really, the young woman, her name is Immaculate, she wrote the book, Left to Tell. But we're left to tell, not just to tell, but also to give, like His Excellency President Kagame says, that all the survivors have something to give, and that one is forgiveness. Forgiveness. reconciliation. Because you giving, there is a country, there is a unity, there is hope. You are the hope. Second, hope. And finally, where is that hope? That hope is in wonder. Ladies and gentlemen, that hope is wonder. We did not have wonder. In 1994, we had chaos, we had shambles and ashes. The country was torn apart. That's why we cannot thank God enough for His Excellency President Kagame, not only for liberating Rwanda, but also leading Rwanda to where it is today. The country has come from ashes. You could tell it now, you could say it is actually miracle. It's a shining. It's 1,000 things in us. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not the end of it, but really to give a sense that we have you, we have each other, you are here, you have hope, and we have a country, and take advantage of it in good way to make a difference for the next 30 years. But there is no question that right here we are broken. Somebody said that our hearts are broken. And that is the way the light begins to come in. Light of hope, of strength, light of resilience, the light that you cannot give up, Nana. We can't give up, Nana, but we have the privilege to shine the light and to let the light come in our broken hearts. The broken hearts, then they begin to come together. Therefore, my brothers and sisters, stand strong, not just as survivors, but as thrivers. Thrivers. Our young generation, we pray for you. Let me say a quick prayer in conclusion. Oh God, beyond the human comprehension, here we are, feeling as if we're hopeless, but there is hope, because hope is in this room. There is a country that is ours. We remember those who were killed like animals, those our loved ones. We keep their memory and we shall never forget them. So keep us strong and keep our country strong and help us to continue to build it for the next 30 years, to make Rwanda brighter and brighter for tomorrow. Amen. Amen.
I want to thank you all for your presence. I'm not the one who should be thanking you because I am not the host, but I have my own reason to thank you. 33 years ago, it's when I left the Rwanda. I had a good friend. His name was Pierre Sestigarambe. He was a teacher, sporty, bright, and always when I was with him, I was feeling like I'm running something new. He was so bright. And the war started. I was with him. I panicked. I told him that he will not survive. But he had always a positive energy. He said, the level, don't worry. Now RPF, they are fighting against injustice. Hutus will not take time to kill us, knowing that sooner or later justice will prevail. I had a chance to leave. I told my father the day before I left, I told him that I have a Canadian friend who can help him to escape. He said, well, if even we are kids, I know there's a survivor in our family. So I left the Garamba behind, my siblings, my friends, and the genocide happened. I was in front of the TV like anyone else, and everyone else was in Canada. Garamba, who had this hope, didn't survive. No one in his family was able to survive. No one to tell the story. It's why I thank you, because your presence here, we are talking about them, they are not being forgotten. And when I see you, all those images of people who died with the hope of surviving, it brings back all those memories, and I say, they are with us, and it's why I'm thanking you. When you created Canada, which means people can't remember, we did it mainly because of those people who don't even want to tell their stories. We are here to testify, to talk about them. And when you are with us, we are restoring their dignity, because of the way they were killed. There was no mercy. It was so atrocious, but your presence, it's a shame on people who committed the genocide. It's why I thank you for this covering. Even in my family, when he said the day to day, at least there's one who will tell the story. We were lucky, because my parents were trying to have a daughter. They kept trying. We ended up by being 7 boys. And 3 of them, including me, who survived. We can't tell their story. But I did this, talking about Ngarambe, because there's no one to tell his story. Everybody in his extended family, no one was able to escape. And it's why I thank you. I thank also the President of Rwanda, His Excellency President Paul Kagame, because without his leadership, we would not be here. We are here because he was able to stop the genocide. Imagine if people who committed the genocide were going to win the war, no one would be here, because our history will be fabricated, and they will keep their propaganda of hate, and will not get a chance to be talking about our loved ones. Ladies and gentlemen, my word was only about thanking you, because we still remember, and we will continue to remember. Thanks a lot.
I now want to invite the president of PAJ Rwanda, the oldest of the Survivors Association here in Canada. Bertin Mohizi, PAJ, represents our community in Montreal. We'll say more about PAJ and the journey from literally the last days of the genocide, and the journey with many of the communities you represent here in pursuing justice, and holding all of us safely together, carrying our voice in everything. Bertin, à vous la parole.
Good afternoon, everyone. Your Excellency, Ambassador, honorable distinguished guests and all Rwandan, Thank you for receiving us here in Ottawa today for the 30th commemoration of genocide against Tutsi of Rwanda. As I said, my name is Berthe. I'm here representing PAJ Rwanda, a survivors association that I'm leading, which is a registered charity organization based in Montreal. An association of families and friends of victims of the genocide against Tutsi of Rwanda. This association was created while the genocide was still going on in 1994, because members of the Tutsi community in Montreal were living side by side and saw on a daily basis the horror illustrated in the media here in Canada, wanted first to support each other, while the international community had decided to ignore what was going on in Rwanda. Since its creation in 1994, our mission is built on 4 pillars: remembrance, well-being, solidarity, and justice. We've been organizing commemoration event in Montreal for the last 30 years, allowing the community to come together, to offer solidarity, and for genocide survivors and their families, and to preserve the memory. We also took steps to pursue justice against suspected perpetrators to ensure they can be held accountable for their actions during the genocide against Tutsi in Rwanda. Our association works closely with different partners like Montreal Holocaust Museum and the Center of Oral History and Digital Storytelling of Concordia University for keeping the memory of genocide against Tutsi of Rwanda alive. We provide a space to comfort survivors, which give them an opportunity to talk about their painful past without feeling judged. With donations we receive as an association, we also provide them with psychological support, with the help of professionals, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank each and everyone who contributed for those donations. We are also involved in different activities of education. Like last year, we participated in producing the first pedagogical material for the Quebec Ministry of Education, which is used to teach high school students about different genocide that happened in the world, and also how to build a better way of living together, both locally and globally. 30 years have passed since the genocide against Tutsi happened in Rwanda, where over 1 million men, women, children were murdered in 100 days. If you do your quick math, around 10,000 people were killed every day, while the entire world was just observing without any assistance. The question we can ask today is, what have we learned from this tragedy? As a human, as an international community, 30 years after. Today, many of those who committed the genocide are still free, while survivors are trying to live a normal life. We are observing an unprecedented anti-Semitism hate speech and discrimination everywhere, and especially online. Social media and digital platforms used to spread hatred, the weaponization of public discourse of political gain is unfortunately not new. As history continues to show, hate speech coupled with disinformation can lead to stigmatization, discrimination, and large-scale violence. Those things have to be firmly condemned. As we remember, in 1994, genocide against Tutsi in Rwanda began with a decade of hate speech. The Holocaust did not start with the gas chambers, but with hate speech. Together, we need a way to enforcing effort to combat hate speech and anti-Semitism to promote the protection of a human right everywhere. As Martin Luther King has been saying, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. Over the past 30 years, many genocide survivors from Rwanda have started a new life here in Canada. And most of them have successfully integrated the new society, have families, and has reconnected with life. But there are also some of whom the path remains difficult, and we must not forget them. This is where an association like Page Rwanda is present to assist, organizing different events to educate, despite our limited resources. We continue to assist those who need help and essentially make sure they are not forgotten. This 30th commemoration has to serve as a call to action for the younger generation to reflect on the life lost, the role in preserving memory and unity through different education activities, creative arts, and the community events. Trying to address the past we went through as a human and as a country, recognizing collective traumatism, and then working proactively to prevent transmission of harmful narrative to the next generation. We have to remember, we have to unite, and we have to renew in order to build a strong and a better future. I'm standing in front of you today as a survivor, but also as a leader of a community to help those who need help, to assist those who need assistance. But I know one thing, your presence, seeing you standing up beside us, is giving us hope, as many said this before me, to continue live our lives and also remember those who have been killed and beloved one we lost as family members, parents, or friends. I would like to finish my speech by thanking everyone here in this room by telling them that your presence today, this anniversary, is a way to show us how you have been supporting us in all this journey. Thank you.